As a platform, YouTube is home to an incredible amount of channels run by users who are desperate for fame, to the point that they would do just about anything to achieve it.
I may fail, but if I fail, I want to die trying.
A risky attempt at fame left aspiring YouTube star Pedro Ruiz III dead.
As a platform, YouTube is home to an incredible amount of channels run by users who are desperate for fame, to the point that they would do just about anything to achieve it.
I may fail, but if I fail, I want to die trying.
A risky attempt at fame left aspiring YouTube star Pedro Ruiz III dead.
This is nothing new, of course, but every day I find it more and more shocking the lengths that people will go through just to gain internet clout. And today's example is one of the more disturbing. For starters, let's address something. The internet has long since had an animal abuse problem. So often, accounts will pop up showcasing vile and disgusting treatments of animals by users desperately in search of attention. This issue has always been rampant, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like it will ever stop, as new cases seemingly appear every week or so. But on YouTube, there's a similar issue happening right now, only it features a slight variation. It seems that on the platform, there are a variety of channels that are abusing animals, such as cats and dogs, just not in the way that we are used to. Instead, the videos paint these abusers to be heroes. It's a difficult phenomenon to explain, so let me just show you. To start our investigation, we're going to be taking a look at an account called KM Animal, a channel with just 2 posts, but that's all they needed to make a lasting impact. A video entitled "Boy Rescues Baby Puppy Was Bitten by Big Dog" was posted to YouTube on April 3rd, 2018. The caption is filled with broken English, but basically what they're saying is that they found this puppy who had a bite from a bigger dog that they couldn't find, and they rescued the puppy by giving it medicine. Now, I'm gonna censor most of this video because there is nothing more triggering to me than seeing a puppy in pain, but it basically shows a dog with what appears to be a bleeding cut near its neck. The dog is clearly in pain and totally terrified. But luckily, these kids stumbled upon it and were able to bring it out to safety. They rubbed some medicine on the dog, and just like that, it was back on its feet. There was even a follow-up video posted to the channel that showed the puppy being completely fine, without so much as a scar or even any sign of a wound for that matter. Honestly, this is some wholesome content. They saved this poor, adorable, helpless puppy. These kids are heroes. Is exactly what they wanted you to think. In the first video I showed you, people noticed that something was off with the puppy's supposed bite marks. The story was that a big dog had bit the young puppy, causing a severe injury. But there's something about this injury. Something isn't quite right. On the puppy, there is only one mark that looks more like a cut than anything. If he had truly been bitten, then wouldn't there have been injuries all over his body, given the fact that grown dogs typically have 42 teeth? So if a grown dog had really bitten this puppy with that much strength, then those other teeth surely would have caused damage too. So the possibility of this actually being a bite mark is all but impossible, unless the dog literally only had one tooth. Plus, the wound very clearly isn't a puncture, and again it looks more like a slice, which is inconsistent with a bite mark as well. And something else wasn't adding up either. When looking at the update video, the young puppy was still a puppy, and it looked to be the same exact size. Yet the wound had healed over so much that it was unrecognizable. Large wounds on dogs like that would typically take as long as 6 weeks to heal if left open, And that's not including the months that it would take to fully scar over, and then the years it would take for that scar to become this unnoticeable. So all in all, the recovery time for the dog to look that good could have been years, and yet that dog was still a puppy. Now going a little further, this looks to be a Labrador, meaning that by just 3 months old, it would already be nearing 25 pounds, and by 6 months, it would be as high as 50. But this dog is just as small as it was before, making this update video all but impossible to be true. So what does this all mean? It means that everything here is clearly staged. Everything but the dog's wound. And since we already know that it couldn't have come from a dog like they said, it appears that these kids did the unthinkable. They took a perfectly healthy puppy, filmed it as footage to use for their update video, and then they took a sharp object, likely a knife, and cut the puppy on its chest. After the dog was injured, they placed it under a deck and pretended to rescue it, so that they could look like the heroes. That explains why the wound looked more like a cut, and it explains why they never found the actual dog who bit the puppy, because it didn't exist. Stabbing an innocent puppy to look cool on YouTube and acting like you're a hero, it's one of the most disgusting things that I've seen on the platform. Honestly, this makes me just lose so much faith in humanity. But I was at least happy to see that people were smart enough to see through this channel's lies. Only, this wasn't actually the case. See, there's some information that I haven't shared with you yet. This channel actually wasn't the original KM Animals. In fact, both of these videos were just re-uploads. Instead, the original KM Animals channel had amassed nearly 1 million subscribers by doing this very same practice, and it was universally loved. Every video was fake and put these animals' lives at risk. Yet even for the videos we just analyzed, the support was overwhelmingly positive, with it garnering millions of views, and nobody caught on for a very long time, until it was eventually exposed by YouTubers Pay Money Wubby and Everyday Stray. Once the truth had been revealed, the channel was shut down, with YouTube vowing to put an end to fake animal rescue content. But it is worth noting that KM Animals still has a YouTube channel that is functioning to this day called KM Daily, whose videos also deal with animals. Now, it doesn't appear that they're abusing them anymore, but it does rub me the wrong way that they're still able to post content and rack up hundreds of thousands of subscribers who likely have no idea about the horrible things they've done in the past. But I'll let you be the judge of that. The exposing of KM Animals was a huge deal in 2019, and with YouTube's response, one would imagine that it would be much harder to get away with on the platform today. But this doesn't seem to be the case, as in the past week I've been able to find a few channels that are concerning. Let's begin with Happy Dog. This channel was brought to my attention by a Reddit post made by movie expert 786, who questioned how legitimate the channel really was. In looking into it, I see what they mean. Happy Dog has been actively posting on YouTube for just 10 months, but in that span they've been able to amass 170,000 subscribers and 48 million views, with most of their videos receiving a high amount of praise. In the majority of their uploads, the people behind the camera will find a trapped or injured animal in seemingly an impossible situation. Situations that clearly wouldn't happen often in nature. And yet they find a new one every single day, it seems like, as they've recently began uploading practically daily. Now, this alone could just be a coincidence, so let's take a look at some specific examples of these impossible situations. Starting with the video, Rescue the Puppy Trapped in Fishing Net.
The net is around him so that he cannot run.
In this video, we see a dog tangled desperately in a red net, making it impossible for the puppy to move. That's when the camera cuts to a scene that shows us where the puppy was found. Just looking at this fort of chairs, it clearly seems staged, and something about it just doesn't sit right with me. See how tangled up this dog is? Every limb is wrapped, even its neck is caught around it. And we know this puppy is completely immobilized, meaning that it couldn't have walked into this fort after it was already tangled. So that means that this net must have been inside of that little den, and the puppy would have had to climb in and get caught up in it inside of there. But in my opinion, that's not even possible. For any animal to get this hopelessly trapped, it would have had to have rolled around, tried to escape, and moved all over the place. It's a situation where the more you move, the more you trap yourself. You don't get this caught just by standing on the net or laying on it. It requires movement, and most importantly, space to get this stuck. Yet that den barely had enough room for the puppy to fit in. There is nowhere near enough room for this dog to have gotten this tangled in that small little space. And we already know he couldn't have crawled in afterwards. And there's more. When I watched the video back, I noticed that the thumbnail seemed strange. Because at no point of this video was the puppy ever in this position. Not once. And they supposedly showed the rescue from the moment they found the dog to the moment it was freed. So this shows us that this thumbnail was clearly staged, meaning that they had this dog tangled up off camera in the net, completely discrediting the idea that they had found it and immediately freed it. Now with all this considered, I believe that this video is definitely a fake, and they put this puppy in a horrible situation just for views. And the content only gets more dangerous from here. In the video, rescue poor puppy with his mouth tied up, they claim to have stumbled upon a dog who had a rock fallen on him, and who also had his mouth tied up. Now a few concerns here. If the dog was covered by a rock, you wouldn't be able to see it, and if its mouth was tied up, you wouldn't be able to hear it from far away. So how again did they notice it? Also, you see them pulling the rock off of the dog, yet the camera shows the ditch that the puppy was found in earlier in the video, which made me realize, where did the rock fall from? The dog was in the middle of a wide ditch. Now by the end of the video, they are clearly pretending that they have never seen this dog before by acting afraid of it, and so to try and help, they start smacking it? It's very disturbing and very dumb at the same time, because after all, the dog's mouth is literally tied. So with all of this, I feel like this is another fake video where they actually put the rock on top of that dog and tied its mouth just for content. Now one of the most obvious signs that this is all being fake is an upload from June 10th called "Rescue Puppy from Snake Attack, Crying for Help." This video is very graphic, so I'll blur it, but it shows a puppy being attacked by a snake. In the beginning, the people behind the camera take 30 seconds to film the situation, with one questioning, what are we gonna do?
Oh my god, so what we do now?
All the while, you can clearly see that the other person has a snake pole and could have easily helped the situation 30 seconds before, instead of just filming the dog literally being killed. So they prioritized getting a good shot and setting a good story to saving the dog's life, which shows us that at the very least, they valued their production quality over the dog's life in this situation. And I also want to briefly mention that this dog looks an awful lot like one of the puppies they had rescued a month previously. But this video is important for one specific reason. Out of the first 5 months of this channel, this was the first snake attack rescue that was uploaded, which leads me to believe that this is a fairly rare thing, as if they had had these rescues before, we would have seen them. Now this video gained a staggering 4 million views, which is the first time that the channel had gotten close to this kind of viewership since its first month of existence. So in other words, this video kind of broke a dry spell on the channel, which tells us something, that these snake videos are good for views. And so interestingly enough, after that video went viral, all of a sudden they started rescuing more animals from these snakes. Clearly this was something that wasn't common, as it had never happened in the channel's first 5 months. Yet since that video went viral, they've posted 13 other snake rescue videos in just 2 months. It's clear to me that they saw how well the first one did and continued staging these attacks so they could keep pulling views. And some of these videos are so clearly fake. Like this one, for example. The video shows a puppy being attacked by what they say is a king cobra. In it, the dog is dirty and has been bitten by the snake on its leg. Now, a king cobra bite can have enough venom to kill a full-grown elephant, so this puppy should not have survived long after this. Yet Happy Dog takes the puppy directly to the vet, gives it a shot, and miraculously it survives. So that alone is unlikely, as the dog wouldn't have survived for more than a few minutes. But also, I noticed something else. When the dog is being attacked, it is dirty and bleeding from its leg. Yet, by the time they reach the hospital, the dog is perfectly clean, and the injury is nowhere to be found. So much like KM Animal, it appears that this was filmed before the attack, and that the entire thing was staged. And if it truly was a king cobra, then it's likely that the puppy was killed while they were filming this video. And there are inconsistencies with all of these snake videos, leading me to believe that most of these dogs are dying or being severely injured during these staged scenes. Now I'm sure you guys get the point already, but if you're still on the fence, here's this. On August 13th, the channel posted a video of a cat being attacked by a snake in a tree. It's very graphic, so I won't show it all, but at one point we see this random kitten standing on the tree. Now this is significant because somehow, just 3 days later, the same exact kitten wound up stuck inside of a fence for them to rescue. And you can tell for sure that it's the same kitten by the pattern on its back. What are the chances of that? Randomly seeing a cat at an animal rescue, and then having to rescue that same kitten just a few days later. Again, this shows us that this channel seems to be fake, which makes these videos so concerning. Because I failed to mention that this channel also shows videos of dogs with broken legs thanks to supposed car accidents, and puppies caught in mouse traps whose legs wound up mangled. Assuming that this channel is faking these videos, then this would mean that they are intentionally mangling these puppies for their content. And the fact that we've seen some of these dogs get bit by actual king cobras, then we already know that they are likely killing these dogs for content as well. Now, when I was investigating this channel, I happened to find a comment on one of their videos from an account named The Rescue Journey TV. And what I found on that channel was virtually a mirror image of the two that we've discussed so far, except this one might be even more shameless. This channel has very similar red flags to Happy Dog, with one of the biggest being their obvious attempt to follow views. A year ago, one of their videos showed a kitten trapped in between the wheels of a truck, with the video gaining a staggering 11 million views. Now, just a few months after that, a similar video was posted that showed another kitten rescued from the tires with a similar thumbnail, and this one got 31 million views. And much like the snakes on the Happy Dog channel, the people at Rescue Journey TV likely saw how well these rescues were doing and started doing them more to gain views. As in the following week, 2 more videos would be posted of the same exact type of rescue. It's pretty ridiculous to believe that this could happen 3 times in the span of 1 week, because in a lot of ways, it doesn't even make sense how these kittens would get stuck there in the first place. Also, I just want to quickly mention that the last 2 videos they did on this specific type of rescue severely underperformed, and interestingly enough, after those videos did so poorly, there hasn't been a similar rescue since. So it happened so often that they had 3 of the same rescue in 1 week. Yet since the views ran dry, there hasn't been another one in the past 7 months. Again, I feel like this all hints to the idea that this is staged in an attempt to chase views. I also want to add that each of the thumbnails that they used for these types of rescues were photoshopped, with them adding blood to make the video more clickable, further exploiting these situations for their own gain. But it gets worse, because when I said it was shameless, I meant it. Because this channel seems to be quote-unquote saving the same cats and dogs over and over again. For example, in one video, they find a kitten trapped in rubble. And then a week later, he finds another cat stuck in a tree. And if you pause the video and look a little closer, the cat has the same exact markings on its back. It's the same kitten, much like the tactic that happy dogs used, except they do it over and over again. They use the same animals as props for their videos to act like they're saving them. And knowing these are staged is terrifying, as this channel features videos of dogs and kittens drowning and being crushed by rubble, meaning that they're likely putting these animals through all of that. And if you had any doubts that this channel is faked, here's the kicker. Many of his videos start with this guy just casually farming, minding his own business, and miraculously, every single time, after just a few seconds, he happens to hear an animal in distress in the nearby area. Like, how dumb do they think we are? And what are the odds that as soon as the camera turns on, an animal randomly starts crying out for help? Which also just so happens to be what your entire channel is centered around. Now, I go a little more in depth on this channel, but it seems like a lot of their commenters have already caught on to the scam, so I'll just leave it at that. Both Happy Dog and The Rescue Journey TV are two of the most sickening channels that I've ever encountered. And somehow they are allowed to continue posting this content on YouTube. All the while, there are ads on virtually every single video. This is quite literally monetized animal abuse. And we've seen their willingness to chase views and put these animals in more and more extreme situations. So who knows what other types of abuse they'll put them through next. It's honestly horrifying to think that this will keep happening and keep getting worse and worse, until hopefully they're eventually stopped. And these are far from the only channels out there like this. So for that reason, I'm going to keep investigating this in the future and trying to expose this issue, as this truly has no place on the platform.